What comes to mind when you think of home? Could be your favorite restaurant surrounded by friends, maybe your favorite place to get away with family, your house surrounded by your favorite people, or the football field. This is my home. When it comes time for you to find yours, the only team I trust is Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Now, just thoughts on practice, getting ready for the SEC opener?
Yeah, the guys are excited. I think anytime you get an SEC road opponent, something about going on the road that you embrace that environment. And you know, most of our kids love going to play in the SEC on the road. You know, last year, Tennessee and Auburn stick out as pretty unique environments, and I think South Carolina is in line with that in terms of their fan base. You know, last year was really unique for everybody because we were coming off COVID. And none of the kids had seen an environment like that. So we had two classes of guys who had not, and now most of them got to see it last year. So our freshman group will be the first time getting to see that kind of raucous and rude bus arrival, and obviously the white towels. So it's something that our kids embrace, and we look forward to playing in that environment.
With Dayton Edwards getting extensive playing time these first two games, what has he shown you, and what do you expect from him moving forward?
Well, he had a tremendous camp. He worked really hard. He was probably ready to play the same role he did last year, but we had just more backs. So he's really done a good job picking things up on third down. He's smart. He's got great hands out of the backfield, catches the ball well, hard to tackle, quick. But he's more than that. He's a everyday special teams, just tough, hard-nosed football player that makes our culture right in terms of toughness.
Coach, I know South Carolina certainly wants to run the football better than they have to this point, but considering the way they sling the ball around and everything, how do you feel about their secondary, their ability to just cover and be able to handle a team that right now at least is slinging the ball around a lot?
Yeah, they got some really big wideouts, some challenging guys to cover. We'll have to play well. There's 2-3 ways to look at that. You have to affect the quarterback. It's not just covering people. It's how do you disguise? How do you rush the passer? How do you affect the quarterback? Can you negate big plays and run after catch? They've got some guys that can catch the ball and run with it afterwards. They got some really good skill players. So we're looking forward to the challenge, and they certainly got a tremendous quarterback and a tremendous skill set out there on the perimeter to get the ball to.
Yeah, Kirby, kind of following up on the passing game, it seems like Spencer Rattler does a good job throwing in the middle of the field. Just how much of an added pressure is that put on the guys in the middle of the field, like Jamon and Chris, even a guy like Javon playing the slot?
There's pressure all over the field when you got to play one-on-one. I don't look at it as the middle of the field or the outside part of the field. It's some of that's based on coverage, and they can target anywhere they want to target. They've got good playmakers all around. They spread the ball around. They spread the field around. And then when you do all that, it makes it tough to occupy the quarterback because he's a good athlete. So the space game makes it hard because they spread you out and they've got an athlete that can run around with it. So we'll have to play well. We'll have to cover well. We'll have to affect the quarterback well. And we have to play as a unit on defense.
We get to speak to Javon Bully for the first time today. Do you kind of going back to his recruitment, what did you guys like out of him down there at Baldwin? Was it just his kind of versatility? And what speaks to that kind of a young man coming from a 3-star, coming all the way up, just like other players like Stokes and that?
Yeah, he's extremely tough, physical. His high school tape displayed toughness. He was one of the COVID kids that, he was during the time you didn't get to really bring him on campus. But he sent tape in of his workouts. Very similar to the way other players did, and we liked his workouts. We just thought, man, this guy is committed to working out during a time when the rest of the country stopped doing anything, and we like the kid, and he has the core values we like of physical toughness, and love the way he practices every day.
Kirby, I want to ask you about Will Muschamp. What's it been like having him back in the program for a couple seasons, or the second season now, from a professional level, and then a guy that you're good friends with and worked with earlier in your career? What's it like on a personal level, be with him on a daily basis?
Well, it's comforting to have a guy that's been an SEC head coach, at 2 places, and he's worked all across the SEC, including LSU and Auburn. So There's a lot of value in that, knowledge. He understands the seat I'm in. He understands recruiting in this conference. He's a tremendous asset to our defensive staff. He's a tremendous asset to our special team staff. So it's like having a second head coach, and that's what I talk about when I talk about our staff being complete and being one of the best we've assembled. He's a big reason why.
Kirby, it's no secret 7 years ago before this job opened, South Carolina was talking to you. What did you see? What do you think of South Carolina's job and program? Obviously, it shares a state with another power, but doesn't have as many resources, but seems to have a pretty strong fan base.
Yeah, I've always thought South Carolina's got, even when we played and they came into the conference and we played and Brad Scott was there, they have tremendous following, fan base. I mean, they fit the SEC culture in terms of, their fan base and their commitment to facilities and winning and environment. They have all those things. It's not a huge state, so they know they have to go outside the state to win battles. They come into Georgia a lot. They've gone to Tennessee a lot. They're closer to the eastern seaboard, some of the D.C. area, and they've got some really good players from that area because they're the closest SEC school by car to get there. So Shane's done a good job there, and they'll probably continue to do a good job because they recruit well.
What have you made of your inside linebacker play for the first 2 games? I know we talked a lot this offseason about just the lack of experience. What do you think they've gained so far in these first 2 games against Oregon and Samford?
Well, first thing they gained is experience. I think game experience is invaluable. They could have played in 15 or 16 more practices, scrimmages, and gone against a really good offense than ours, but they need to play. They need to get under the lights and make calls and have things happen unexpected to them and react to those things. And Schumann does a good job coaching those guys to handle things that they haven't seen before. You got to be able to handle something on principle. There's not an offense we're going to play this year that's going to run the same plays they ran the week before. They just don't do that. They move people around, they tweak them, they hide things, and you got to do things on principle. And I think those 2 guys, and even the other guys, Ryan and Tresman, have played well to spell those guys.
Hey, Coach, I remember last week you mentioned you had one of the worst practices. I was curious, what do you do to address the team when something like that happens, and if you've seen an uptick in energy since then?
Yeah, it was one of our worst practices this year, but it was not the worst practice. So there's definitely a line of demarcation when you start looking at it. We had really good practices. It just wasn't one of our best. But they've been great. They've had good energy. Leadership's helped some since then, and they've had good 2 practices the last 2 days. It helped today. It was cooler. It wasn't really hot out there, and I think the hotter it is, the more you have to push through. And it's probably going to be that way Saturday. So we've been in the heat more this year than we've ever been.
Kirby, how did Tyke Smith do the last game? We got, it's a pretty good playing time. And how has the nickel star position in general been the first 2 games?
Been good. Those guys played well. They're smart, heady players, physically tough. They can match up on people and get their hands on them, play strong, play physical. Hard to evaluate Samford on anybody. They didn't challenge the Stars a lot, and I don't think you can take a lot from that game. I take more from the practices, and he continues to improve and get confidence in that knee.
AD Mitchell update, did he go today?
Yeah, again, we're hopeful AD's able to go. Hoping and hopeful that he can recover to the point that he can help us.
Following up on Tyke, have you seen a noticeable difference as far as him gaining confidence coming back from that knee?
Yeah, I mean he was not very confident. He didn't get to go in the spring. He wasn't very confident when we started out fall camp, and he's gotten better. He's gotten ability to change direction, to plant, point, tackle. Then on the ground, he's gone live. I mean, yeah, he's gotten more confident. He's still got improvement to do, and he'll be the first to tell you. But we're going to need him to play well this year before it's over.
Yeah, with Nyland Green dealing with a little bit of that hamstring injury, what have you seen out of Dalen Everett? It seemed like he got some extensive playing time on Saturday.
Yeah, Dalen's done a good job. He needs to play. He's a talented young man. He's a really good corner. He's physical. He's a great tackler. He just needs experience. He hasn't gotten much.
Coach, Coach, I know we asked you about Bear Alexander the other day, but I'm wondering about Christian Miller. I know Sean Washington got in the other day. Maybe looked like he made a good player too.
Yep, both those guys are developing. They go on the scout team each day. They're going against the #1 O-line and getting better by the day.
From the mental aspect of things, where have you seen the biggest improvement from Stetson Bennett in terms of how he's approached the game now as a starter?
I think confidence in himself. That's the biggest change. I mean, he prepared the right way last year. He continues to prepare the right way in terms of what he watches on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You know, what his answers are, what run checks we have, what pass checks we have, what decision-making process we have. He gets better and better at it with reps, but he's got confidence in himself, and he's seen himself play well in big moments. I think that helps the quarterback be able to play with a little more composure.
How confident are you in your defense overall? I mean, it's easy to look up and see, leading the nation scoring defense, but we're still at that point in the season. You can't be sure what you're facing overall. Is this their best test yet, you think?
You're as good as your last outing. That's all I know right now.
Here we got to see a little bit of Branson carrying the ball on Saturday. What have your impressions been of him through these first couple games in his career?
He's getting better with every day. He's a guy that works really hard. Thought he's done in some of our competitive drills we do on Monday and Tuesday. He's shown some promise and some burst. He's like we tried to get him in a special teams role where he can really help, and he's still new to that. He reminds me of all the backs we've had that come in and they never really play special teams in high school, and then you gotta like train him to do that. He has the ability to be a starter on 3 or 4 units. He doesn't have the experience, so it's like, how can you rush that process to help on special teams? It's actually easier, to play him as a back and give him the ball, but he's still working through everything in that, and he gives us a change of pace, because he's heavier than those other guys.
You guys have played in the dome. You guys have played in kind of murky weather this year. Going into this game against South Carolina, it's supposed to be in the 90s. How do you prepare? I know you do this, every other year going into Columbia, but how do you prepare for a game like this in kind of preparation? Do you guys, is it more of like a conditioning type thing, or how do you just kind of help your guys get adjusted to the heat?
You practice in it all summer. You go outside and you practice in it in fall camp, and you practice really physical the week of, and you sell the players on. That's the environment we want to be in, right? That's what that we want. We want it to be hot. I'm sure they want it to be hot, and let's see who is in best shape.
Stats aren't everything, but only 1 sack in the season so far. Are you satisfied with the defensive line's ability to get to the quarterback and affect and get pressure?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with the things our defensive line has been able to do. The opportunities they've been given, they've affected the quarterback. If anything, I would say I wish we finished a little better on the ones that we've had that got away. But when you play really good athletes, I think teams would say that about Stetson too. They had free runners and didn't finish. So, our goal is usually to bat 60 to 70% on free runs, because you're not going to get them all. And we haven't been given very many opportunities, and I don't blame it. Like that's not the game anymore. The game's not to sit back there and have a guy be a sitting target.
Thank you.
Take 2 more questions. Anyone?
Kirby, how hard is it for Eric Gilbert to get on the field when he has really quality guys ahead of him that you probably don't want to take off too much?
It's really based on Eric's performance. It's not really based on those guys. We have really quality guys at O-line, and they all play, and we play the guys that can play winning football and can communicate and execute and like to have depth at those positions. But that's all based on how he practices and how he carries over the game plan.
Coach, you talked about depth. I believe last week we had 15 different players catch passes against Stanford. I know the score maybe had something to do how many guys got in, but I think 16 total for the year. For those guys to be able to contribute like that, what does that mean for them and your team to have that many guys to do?
Well, I think it means you can spread the ball around try to find out, like I said before, is who can make people miss, who's special when they touch the ball. And we've been able to give a lot of guys touches to get a lot of looks to try to gain some confidence in guys touching the ball. But, a lot of that had to do with the score, too.
Thank you.